Hi guys, I'm live. How you guys doing? I just did my hair, so it's wet. I have to comb it a lot. I have to comb it more when it's drying than normal, so it dries well. Um, I'd like to talk about a topic I haven't exclusively mentioned, which is drugs and why I stayed off them. And drugs includes alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs themselves. To me, they're all substances that are external, unnatural, and maybe hurtful, but I wanted to discuss why I didn't do them, the different reasons. And I haven't done that exclusively. I've talked about it, but I haven't said, well, this is the topic. I've never made it an actual topic, so here I am. Um, uh, First of all, I was a boy genius. I was very smart, and I didn't want my drugs to hurt my mind. I didn't want drugs to hurt my school abilities. So basically, as much as I rag on school, it's a big reason I didn't do drugs, which actually helped me still be here today. Even if school didn't do anything else for me, it kept me off drugs. But it did other things for me. It taught me a lot about the universe and math and helped me to think, trained me to, even further than my dad did. My dad trained me in many ways, but school continued some of that. It trained me to be disciplined and have a good work ethic and all that. So that's one reason I didn't do drugs. Next reason, speaking of my dad never did drugs, never drank, smoked yes, but never drank, did drugs. No, did my mom. No, it just wasn't a thing in my family. People just weren't doing drugs and drinking in my family. They just didn't do it. So my dad directly helped me with that by just being. My dad didn't need drugs. He didn't need drugs to be like wild and the scariest dude in town. He didn't need to boost that. And so he never did. And he never brought it in the house. He never encouraged me with it. Him not doing it helped me too to not do it at all. And there's another reason. I've talked about this, but now it's in the video exclusively about this topic. I had a driver's ed teacher named Mr. Wheeler, and he was cool. And one day we were talking about drugs, probably in the context of driving and doing drugs, because it was driver's ed. And he said, drugs will take away your desire for sex. And that triggered something in my brain where I said, no way, I ain't doing that. I'm not, if that messes that up, then you can have that. So that's another reason I didn't do drugs. Mr. Wheeler helped. And there's even a fourth reason. That's why I did a video on this. It's not just one thing, and it's multiple fronts in which I didn't do drugs. I might be the son of Jim Morrison of the Doors. I've made that well known. My doors are open. There's a good chance, if Jim Morrison was my dad, he was a good chance he was on LSD when I was conceived. And that's already in me. And I thought of a metaphor for this. Me drinking is like putting nitrous oxide into a Ferrari. It just overloads the engine. It's just too much. I can drink that much, and for you, it's like 4 beers, already for you, or maybe I don't know the exact thing, but I don't drink. It is too much for me. It overloads me, and it actually short circuits me. It makes me worse. I already have my doors open, but if they open even wider, it's just too much. It just becomes chaotic. It floods everything, and it takes me like 2 weeks to come down. If I've had a little drink like this, like I sampled the wine like last year, and somebody who sampled it, and I just said, okay, I'll take the little taste. Just give me something light, the lightest thing you have, just white stuff. 2 weeks to get over it, to just totally get it out of my system. Okay, I don't think I need that. Don't think I'm doing that. And that's just drinking. That's, and smoking had no appeal to me. My dad did it, but it was gross. I didn't need to do it because he did it. He did it fine. He was great, but I didn't see anything good in that. And marijuana is the only drug I've ever done. I did it 7 times smoking, and then I did it once as an edible in my life. And that was like 15 years ago. Something like, 15 years ago. And that was some peer pressure, but it was also just wanted to make sure I didn't wanted to make sure that I didn't leave something out that might be worth something. I didn't want to leave any stone unturned in this life. In other words, what if there's something to that? Is there anything good to be gained? And for me, no. In fact, the edible, I finally got my head around Third Soul from the Sun by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, so that was good. I got something out of it on that level. It opened up my mind enough at that point to understand Third Soul from the Sun by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, which is my favorite overall song of all time. But I was done. It's like, okay, that's enough. I said I did it enough to say I did it 7 times in an edible. I have street cred. I have bragging rights, but screw it. I'm done. I'm not doing it again. And I haven't. And I didn't before that. So just want to do a video like this. And it turns out, and some of the couple things were against me not doing drugs was peer pressure, because everybody was doing it in high school and college, and even in just around the town. Drugs were everywhere in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. It wasn't even the 70s when I grew up. I was born in 66, so my first summer was the summer of love, by the way. First summer being on this earth out of the womb. But drugs were everywhere. If you didn't do drugs, there was something wrong with you, and you were just weird, and screw you, dude. And then that continued in college when a couple of cool kids, I mean, it was more than just a couple, but a club called Brain Damage liked me and wanted me to join them. And they kept pressuring me to get a white Russian. I needed a white Russian. I've joked that I thought that was a girl, but I knew they were. I knew I wasn't that lucky. I knew it wasn't that easy to get a girl. I knew it was a drink, but I had to literally escape the room, escape the building to get them away from me, and I didn't even know the building because I was a freshman. And I had to exit the hallways and get out of their sight. And I finally got out, and then since I didn't join their club, they never even acknowledged my existence another day. I mean, they in other words, if you don't join us, screw you, kind of thing, And but there was some exception to that, because I knew some people in Hell Suite was in West Dorm. I lived as a freshman. I was in South Dorm. South Dorm was the elite for the the rich kids type of dorm, and north and east were just blah average dorms, but West Dorm was for the partiers. West Dorm was the long hairs, the partiers, the druggies, and there was a suite called Hell Suite in West Dorm. Phil, what was his name that lived there? One of the 2 or 4. I could almost think of it. I'm not trying that hard, but I didn't. Anyway, I actually had an impact on Hell Suite for this reason. I was into Alan Holdsworth in the 80s when everybody else was just into heavy metal, Mötley Crüe and Def Leppard, Judas Priest, whatever, Van Halen, and I was into this weird Alan Holdsworth stuff. I was into Bill Bruford, Feels Good to Me, One of a Kind, and UK, and IOU band, and all that in the 80s. And I can almost think of his name. Oh gosh, it almost came to me. But anyway, I introduced the music. I said, "May I knock, knock, knock?" I went to Hell Suite or something, and I said, "I have some cool music. You might want to play at some of the parties." They did not call them raves; they called them parties. I don't know really for sure what a rave even is, but some of them liked it, and they would play some of my music at the parties. On weekends and stuff, all throughout my years at Harvard College because of that. I heard that the year I quit, I heard that somebody got busted in Hell Suite with $150,000 worth of drugs that they had manufactured themselves because they knew science, they knew chemistry. A real life Breaking Bad from Hell Suite and Harvard College. You can Google that probably. I don't know. I haven't, but I know about it though. $150,000 worth of something they had made that's drugs and busted. So there was a few things where everybody else was doing it, kind of peer pressure thing, and but I, there was more pressure than that for me because I was smart. So there was pressure on me just by the fact that I was already a good student. So having drug pressure wasn't an original altogether new thing for me. I was even if I had done drugs, I was still made fun of for being a nerd. So why bother? I mean, what am I gonna do? Not be a nerd also? No, I just decided screw it. I'll just be me, and nobody liked me. Nobody knew who I was, and then I was like a total loser in school socially. Anyway, love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.